Leaky gut syndrome. 30 slides. Let's make this quick and short. What is leaky gut syndrome? Okay. So leaky gut syndrome is a condition where the lining of the small intestine is damaged, allowing contents of your small intestine into your systemic circulation. Where in the gut is it affected? It is in the small intestine, and it is at the level of your epithelial cells. Okay, the small intestines will keep all the contents of the gut within the small intestines, but when you have leaky gut syndrome, there is inflammation and all the contents will cross into your circulation. This is where the problem starts, when all the toxins, the bacteria, the undigested food gets into your systemic circulation, and the Peyer's patches are the ones that will mount an immune reaction. And why? It's very important because if you will end up with systemic inflammation, food intolerance, autoimmunity, nutrition malabsorption, and the worst of all, you will breach your blood-brain barrier. So in a healthy gut, you have got epithelial cells, and these epithelial cells will be held together by proteins. These are the proteins which will hold the epithelial cells together. Out of all these proteins, there is one protein which we can measure. It is called zonulin, and that's the protein which we can measure leaky gut syndrome with. So zonulin is the protein which holds the epithelial cells together. What makes this zonulin disperse? That's what we are here to learn, okay? So what makes zonulin disperse is when your gut has got so much of oxidative stress that the microbiome cannot reduce this oxidative stress. Zonulin now disperses so that the oxidative stress crosses the membrane into the systemic circulation, and where your Peyer's patches will mount an inflammation to try and reduce the oxidative stress within the gut. So why is it so important? Because if you allow any food particles, any toxin, any pathogen to cross the external environment into the internal environment, we will end up with food intolerances, immune issues, and autoimmunity. So, why is it so important? When the gut has got Peyer's patches, which mounts an inflammation, cytokines are released, and this cytokine will cross the blood-brain barrier to cause leaky gut, not only in the gut, but it also causes your blood-brain barrier to break down. Why is leaky gut so important? Because it changes the microenvironment of your cell to create a hyperinflammation situation, and at the same time, it reduces the immune system of the microenvironment. This goes on to lead to a lot of diseases, and one way to know whether you have leaky gut syndrome is if you have a disease, you will have leaky gut syndrome. So to know whether you have leaky gut syndrome or not, the way to monitor it is to look at the zonulin levels. Take any disease you have, you will be able to monitor your zonulin levels to know whether how extensive your leaky gut syndrome is. So we all have seen leaky gut syndrome. We all have got this situation in our clinics. Why we need to learn about leaky gut syndrome? Because every disease will be affected by your zonulin levels. Even neuropsychiatric disorders where the gut membrane, the gut-brain axis is affected by leaky gut syndrome. So, why does this happen? Whether it's your diet that cannot be digested, whether it's the toxins, whether it's the stress or infection, it is the oxidative stress within the small intestines that cannot be reduced or overcome by your microbiota. Therefore, the zonulin levels are released to move that oxidative stress into the systemic environment so that it can be reduced. What is one of the biggest cause of leaky gut syndrome is going to be your glycophosphates. Glycophosphates are in all the foods nowadays, in your water, and that glycophosphate is what disrupts your microbiota to cause leaky gut syndrome. The 6 main triggers of leaky gut syndrome will be your refined sugars, dairy, gluten, infections, and medication. Anything that disrupts your zonulin levels will cause leaky gut syndrome. So how do you test? That's the main thing. We all know about leaky gut, but how do you test? There is one test which we can do, which can quantify leaky gut, is called serum zonulin levels. We look at the zonulin test, we look at the levels, we do a microbiome comprehensive test, we replace the microbiome till the point the zonulin becomes negative. That is the only time we can say leaky gut syndrome has resolved. So how do you replace and how do you treat leaky gut? You remove the bad toxins, you replace the good microbiome, you re-inoculate the gut, and you repair the gut epithelial cells. So you supply the nutrition to the gut, you resolve the dysbiosis, you consume whole foods, avoid the harming drugs, and you give good omega-3s to the diet. The 3 main supplements for your gut lining is going to be glutamine, and glutamine. The microbiota that helps with leaky gut syndrome is going to be a probiotic called Lactospore or Saccharomyces. Okay? Now, long-term treatment for leaky gut, we must understand we have 40 trillion microbiotas in the gut. We cannot replace 40 trillion worth of microbiotas, so we need to supplement them with foods. Probiotics is used in acute conditions. Dr. Leroy will take it from here about pre and probiotics. But the idea of supplementation and maintaining leaky gut syndrome is going to be by supplementing foods. So you need to supplement foods which contain soluble and insoluble fibers, because it's this insoluble fibers and soluble fibers that will carry the probiotic into your gut. If you are giving a probiotic, please make sure this probiotic is able to cross your stomach with a pH of 2 and survive to reach the small intestines. So live bacteria usually don't work. What you will need is something called a spore. This is not commercial. This is something where you can get, we have a lot of spores nowadays, which can go on to recolonize your gut with the probiotics. The main way of long-term treatment of leaky gut syndrome is your fecal microbiota transplant. If you can stomach taking a piece of feces, then go ahead with it. But if you can't, then this is how we do it most of the time. We grow hydroponic plants in probiotic infusion so that you can eat those plants with the probiotics. That is the only way you can do to maintain leaky gut syndrome, to maintain the probiotics to get away from leaky gut syndrome. See, short and sweet. Thank you.